Okay, what's up everybody? This is Justin here to talk about one of my favorite gaming series of all time, Shenmue. If you've been following my reviews since the beginning of my first YouTube channel, ParaParaJamo, you may remember a video I did for the original demo, which I unfortunately lost along with the suspension of that account. But anyway, what brings my attention back to this game is a recent article by a hardcore Shenmue fan whose words are something that fans who are dedicated to this game are, all endlessly share, and I feel that it is time to once again share my passion for this gaming series to the world. The article is called Never Forget Shenmue, and I will include a link. So go to the description link and pause and give it a read. After you read it, hit play again and I will share some of my feelings that will also include Shenmue 2 and my hopes for the franchise. Okay, read it? Okay, I hope you did, so here we go. A significant percentage of what he said is how I feel too, so I don't want to necessarily make a video repeating what he said, but I'll try to give my own opinions in a way that would be more distinctive and also be more personal with me as well. First, I would like to talk about how I got into Shenmue. Back in my hometown of Gilbert, Arizona, there's a store called Game Zone, which also sells import games and also sells art books, magazines, and strategy guides, all imported from Japan as well. Shortly after the Dreamcast launched in Japan in November of 1998, I'm sorry, not 1988 like in the game. Naturally, the store in my hometown got it, and I also had a chance to play Virtua Fighter 3 TB, and along with that copy was a disc called Project Berkley. The respective clerk told me all about it and that it was going to be Suzuki's newest game. He popped the disc in and I gave it a watch. That video should be up on YouTube, and once again, I guess this is a good time to pause the video and look it up to get an idea of what I'm talking about. So please pause now and look up Project Berkley. Watched it? Okay, cool. I hope you did. So this was, late in 1998 when I first saw that video, and I was immensely impressed. At the time, I only had one semester of high school Japanese and barely knew all the hiragana characters, and I didn't necessarily have the skills to understand the content of that interview, despite having the highest grade in Japanese 1 at the time. Regardless, it didn't stop my excitement. Then later issues of Famitsu were coming into the store showing more pictures, and the mainstream use of the internet was in its infancy, and a good fraction of people were still stuck with 56K, so getting, high quality pictures and videos may have been a pain in the ass, but it was worth it back then. Then more details came out and everything about it just spoke to me. It was the game that I was looking for my whole life. It was like looking for my true love, and looking at Shenmue just through the pictures and Japanese articles, regardless of that, no barrier could have kept me apart and learning what it would have to offer. I just had to have it. And then a year later, on December 31st, 1999, the store actually had a copy of the game, a Japanese copy, and I went straight to get it. I was 15 years old and already completed about a year and a half of high school Japanese. I could read and write hiragana and katakana, knew some kanji, knew how to conjugate verbs, understood particle functions, how to order, ask for directions, a good portion of the basic stuff, and I thought the game was a good opportunity and motivation for me to use what I studied and, of course, study more Japanese. My Japanese was not good enough to understand the content of story-related dialogue, but I did know enough to understand directions and where I needed to go. It is kind of funny I memoed and recorded the game just to reference what I didn't understand and practice, and even hell, I even asked my Japanese teacher at times, what such and such means. To many fans such as myself, the game felt like a true simulation of Japan through a Japanese resident, where you go to places that the character is familiar with and interact with characters that are either good friends of Ryo, bitter enemies, or complete strangers. You get a good idea of Japanese life, the nature, the culture, even how monotonous people's lives and routines are, and so on. I live in Japan now, and Shenmue has actually helped me in some ways. When you're out and about, sometimes you can and will see the exact same person at the same spot at the same time. Japanese people respect punctuality, so they gotta be there at that time. And if you're Japanese, was more advanced, you do recognize how Ryo's speech patterns change when he talks to his elders or when he talks on the phone and so on. So it teaches non-Japanese people a lot about Japan, like, when Ryo's father dies, in his father's room, there's the Buddhist altar or the Butsudan, and, many Japanese homes have this because they have a loved one who has passed on, and they use that to show respect to their elders. And then when he goes to Hong Kong in Shenmue 2, you feel as lost as he is, but at the same time, you have this feeling of amazement and curiosity of being in that virtual Hong Kong as if it were the real thing as well. It's like, man, where do I go from here? What do I look for? You're just as unfamiliar as he is, which just makes it pretty fun for me. I mean, I've never been to Hong Kong myself, but I hope playing Shenmue can help me with that. Maybe not, but then eventually Ryo ends up in Guilin, and the nature in that game was just gorgeous and breathtaking, and I see the pictures of the real place, and I'm equally as amazed that I really do want to go there at some point. Not just as a fan, but someone who just loves nature and the culture. So I think that's a very, very excellent opportunity. And with the exploration system that can help you teach you about Japan, the action system really impressed me as well. Ryo, the main character, is a martial artist, so he learns other martial arts techniques either through the free practices with proper button combinations, through scrolls, or through other characters whose explanations you have to translate into the controls, which I felt was really unique and distinctive. I like how these explanations show you how to physically do it, and they go into philosophical detail behind the move as well. These movements were so intricate to the point that I even found myself practicing Ryo's moves in my own backyard, especially his elbow, his double palm strike, and the tornado kick. Granted, the free fighting feels stiff compared to other beat-em-up systems, but it's easy to pick up and has the same feel as, let's say, Virtua Fighter, in which the fighting system is 100% influenced by. And of course, it was originally intended to be some sort of Virtua Fighter RPG. It does feel more loose, but the combinations, they really flow beautifully, and it involves some strategy, especially in the fights against Chai, where you really know how to have to counter and stay on some sort of offensive. At first, the QTEs, the quick time events, were a gimmick that I wasn't really sure of. I mean, would it add more, would it add less, but I wasn't sure, but, when the time comes, it'll come. And I remember I failed my first QTE, the one where Ryo has to catch a soccer ball or the ball will bounce off him and hit a little girl. I thought it was funny, and you know what? Maybe I'd like to try this again in another kind of, scenario. Then, as the game progresses, you do feel the intensity of the action, but at the same time, you need to stay focused, especially in the dark alley scenes and when you have to chase Jimmy and all that other stuff. Hell, even the arcade QTE games brings that same thrill. Then there's the freeze QTEs that were introduced in Shenmue 2. Now that was something that really threw me off guard. I had no idea what that was, and I just felt shocked and at the same time amazed. And of course I failed that the first time as well. That's when, Ren, just sucker punches Ryo. Overall, as you can feel, the game is a cliche martial arts story of, you kill my father, or you kill my master, and you must pay. But it goes beyond that with, who you interact with, the fact that you can play at the arcade, buy toys, and, just help other people, You help an old lady find a certain house. And it's just like all these small details to me is just what just really made this game so beautiful, along with, me being in love with Japan. Before I could even come here, I get a feeling of what Japan is like. But moving on, Suzuki once said that eventually Ryo would have let go of his vendetta and see that there was a greater purpose in defeating Lan Di. And, that's something I wish to see, of course, and as well as other fans. I also fell in love with the soundtrack the moment that the hook of the opening song to the Project Berkley played. It felt appropriately Eastern, and the epic intention behind it, it just feels like an Eastern John Williams composes the score. I also love the song Wish when Ryo is driving Nozomi home on his buddy's motorcycle. I thought Shenmue's voice actress did a great job of singing her theme song, and I love the funky beats at Tom's hot dog stand. And I also really dig Chai's theme as well. It's like, I just really love those percussions, those, high-pitched flutes. It just really, matched his voice, his quick movements, and, like how he can just pop out of nowhere. And I also enjoyed, Rio getting a job in both games. I mean, as long as it's going to simulate life, you gotta get money to support collecting capsule toys, buying soda, feeding the cat, playing at the arcade. I guess you gotta get a job. Not just in context, for the sake of the story. I had so much fun with it to the point that, hey, I wanted to be a forklift operator for real, and hope that, you could do races every morning. Then you move crates with that guy, and then, that seemed fun, but of course in real life that's pretty hard. I mean, if I'm ever stuck in Hong Kong, I know where to get some money. In the end, without this game being fully complete, my life is incomplete, as sad as that sounds, but, I'm being honest here. But, hey, if money's what's keeping Shenmue from being made, I guess we could petition to President Obama to bail out Yu Suzuki to make more Shenmue. I guess that would work. I mean, that would make me a Democrat for life. Or we all tell Sega to quit wasting money on shitty Sonic games. So, what do you say? So thanks for watching, and, if you're a hardcore Shenmue fan, I hope you're in the fight with me that one day we will get this, the ending to Shenmue made. I mean, what happens after the cave? Does Ryo end up with Nozomi? Does he end up with Shenhua? What happened to Xiu Ying's brother? Of course, it's already confirmed it's not Long Di, but, let's just hope that one day this game will be complete. So yes, either hope, one day there's like a, if there's a fundraiser to make it, hey, I'll donate money. If there's a way to get Obama to bail out Yu Suzuki, then we gotta stand behind the president. Or maybe we can get Prime Minister Noda to, I know that recently, these past 20 years, Japan has been trying, stimuluses and all that stuff, so at this point, Prime Minister Noda, bail out Sega and Yu Suzuki. Thank you.